Welcome to my channel, INTJ Island. Today I'm going to share my INTJ thoughts on the ISFP personality type. My brothers-in-law dropped by for a visit last month and we all sat down together and watched my What's Your Personality Type video. They both shared the last three letters, each being SFP, but Bob, my wife's older brother, is extroverted and Rip, the younger brother, is introverted. So between the two of them, they are ESFP and ISFP. I was happy to see this because I know them both very well and they are both good friends, as well as being the brothers I never had growing up. They will be great examples for sharing my thoughts on these two personality types. Today I will go into some things about Rip that demonstrate his ISFP personality. Bob is outgoing and he has set up a good number of parties and family get-togethers, and he and his late wife, Kathy, invited me to perform at several of them, but I will get into the ESFP in another video. This is the ISFP cognitive stack. You can see that an ISFP leads with introverted feeling in the dominant position. He follows with his auxiliary function of extroverted sensing. He then has tertiary inverted intuition and inferior extroverted thinking. Does this look familiar? It should. The bottom two cognitive functions and the top two are the same as the INTJ, except the two groups have exchanged places. Note, with the INTJ, it is intuition, thinking, feeling, and sensing, while the ISFP is feeling, sensing, intuition, and thinking. But all the functions are aligned the same way. It is almost the way DNA works with a mutation, and parts are moved or replicated where the same sequence ends up in a different order and new stuff happens. The ISFP's introverted feeling is applied to those close to the ISFP, not so much to the world in general. In fact, one of the things I have found with Rip is that we tend to agree very much on politics and the way things work in the big picture. It is as if he can change modes easily into his introverted intuition, extroverted thinking loop when we are talking. Every now and then, my wife will surprise me when she finds something Rip has posted on Facebook where he wandered into a room of extroverted feelers who were bellyaching about how hard the world is, and he would lay down a post that could have come from an INTJ. It is well researched, thought through, and delivered in a smooth, logical flow. It often has the effect of setting off an emotional hand grenade. He is so quiet most of the time, and then he will do that. The ISFP is usually driven to create strong memories of family, and Rip has been that way as long as I have known him. This picture of Rip and my wife, Dottie, was taken in early October 2018, when Rip and Bob were here at our place for their visit. You can see Rip is like a big teddy bear, and it is hard not to love him. He is nurturing and he's caring, and he always is there whenever there is a gathering of family members. He lives alone, but he is part of everything that goes on around him. He is a very complicated man. He presents this quiet, undemanding exterior where you might mistakenly think you can push him around, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. He doesn't push his way of doing things on others, but if you try and push him, you find that under that exterior is a lion who will stand his ground in the face of adversity. Due to the Navy changing my leave orders at the last minute, my wife Dottie and I lost the opportunity for our church wedding, which she had planned for us. I had to fly nearly 12,000 miles from the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia in order to arrive for the wedding, and I had 30 days leave in which to get married. But the arrival time had been altered because of some problems that we had with Thailand. And normally I should have flown from Diego Garcia to Thailand and then on over to Hawaii. As it worked out, I had to fly to the Philippines and then fly to Hawaii, but it messed up the timing. In any case, when I arrived, it was the date for the wedding was already missed. And so the invitations had been sent out, but they had to be called back, and it was a mess. Anyway, so what we had to do was settle for a wedding chapel marriage, and the ceremony was held in a wedding chapel in Vancouver, Washington, right across the street from the courthouse. The only ones to attend, besides the pastor and ourselves, were Dottie's mother, her twin sister, and 7-year-old brother Rip. He even signed the paperwork as one of the witnesses. That reminds me, I got to do the same thing when I was around 12 for my parents' wedding in Las Vegas. They had gotten married in 1950, but then, thanks to my dad's drinking, they ended up getting divorced. But they kept seeing each other, and finally they decided to give it another go. So we all went to Las Vegas and had a wedding. Right from the start, Rip has always been an important part of our family. When I first met my wife, Rip was only 5 years old. My oldest boy, Glenn, was born in 1972, and Rip was born in 1969. Rip and his little sister, Tina, were always scrapping around together. The older siblings grew up and moved away, and Rip and Tina grew up together for most of their childhood. This picture was taken in 1979. Rip and Tina are playing around on my chessboard when they came to visit us at our home in Lemoore, California. Dottie's childhood was not a happy one. Her father died when she was only 7. Her mother remarried, and the stepfather didn't work out well for Dottie at all. She ended up leaving home when she was 15 and moved in with a family that gave her a safe home for a couple of years. By the time I met her, Dottie was 17, and she was sharing an apartment with a fellow member of the Mormon Church, who later married one of my shipmates from the ship which I was on when I met my wife. Dottie had a full-time job, and she was doing very well at the time. Meanwhile, things were bumpy on the home front. The family, with 8 kids, was unfortunately dysfunctional. Things were in turmoil, and in the end, the kids grew up into adults that still had trouble getting along with each other. They fragmented into groups that were in a Cold War, where people didn't talk back and forth very much. They would make peace, and something else would happen, and back to silence. I won't go into the details, but I needed to mention this because Rip has always been like the Red Cross, able to move from one warring camp to another, and he was always connected up with everyone. ISFPs are perfect for this sort of role. They are easygoing, caring, and non-judgmental. Rip has always been comfortable with anyone in the family. Even when somebody upsets him, it doesn't grow up into a war that creates divides. Over the 44 years I have known him, Rip has been eager to share in every family gathering for whatever reason. When their mother wanted to go bowling with us, Rip would join in. He was usually fashionably late, but we knew he was coming, and we expected him to be late. He has come along with Dottie and I to the Oregon Zoo. You can see a stuffed bear and the gift shop behind them here in 2007. I'll leave a link below to our hiking page on my wife's webpage, and you will see a number of hikes where Rip came along with us. He was always eager to join in and share the fun. This is Rip and me in the Columbia River Gorge in 2003 on a hike. And here is another one. Most of the pictures I have of Rip show him looking serious, but he has an excellent sense of humor. He has no trouble seeing the funny side of life. But most of the time, he is thinking and taking things in, quietly, and he looks serious while he is doing it. But people tend to see this quiet man and think that he is adverse to doing wild and crazy things. Nothing could be farther from the truth. His second or auxiliary function is extroverted sensing, and Rip and my ESTP wife, who leads with extroverted sensing, both love doing wild and crazy things. Dottie has gone water skiing and snow skiing, and Rip here is showing his love of a good time behind a boat. They say that ISFPs also are natural athletes, and Rip wrestled in high school and played football. Not only is he game for some physically demanding sports, but he also encourages others to do the same. He showed his skill as a guide on the rapids of the Deschutes River when my older boy Glenn brought our 10-year-old grandson Kai for a visit from Japan, and our younger son Leroy came along with us. This is not something I personally would have sought out doing, but my wife and both my sons were eager to do it. Kai, I think, was more reserved at first, but he got into it as we went along. If anything happened to the boat, you can be sure that 4 men would have been making sure that Kai was safe, and we all had our life jackets on. It was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which was pushing up near 40 degrees C. But at the end of the trip, I was shivering. The river was cold, and it kept us wet all the way down. We dried out almost instantly when we got out of the boat, but the ride was truly chilling. We stopped halfway down for lunch, and Dottie decided she would take a swim because she saw some kids doing it. She jumped in, and she said she thought her heart was going to stop because it was so cold. She got back out in a hurry. As an ESTP, it was jump first, ask questions later. That evening when we got back to the Portland area, we stopped for dinner, and you can see Rip, the team leader, the Whitewater Rapids guide, is back in his quiet, apparently passive mode. However, Rip is far from passive. He has gone to Hawaii a number of times because he has some friends who are native Hawaiians who invite him to come and spend some time with them from time to time, far away from the tourist areas. He has been to visit family in Washington, California, Virginia, Italy, Texas, and last summer he was part of a television team working on the Gold Rush TV show. This is where they were digging in Colorado. He sets up his life in a way where he can drop and run when something interesting comes up. He has a network of friends who do cool things, and being the extremely likable guy that he is, he gets invited to participate. And I don't think there's a soul who has ever invited Rip along to do something who is ever sorry that he did it. Another thing about this ISFP, he was there when things were not going on for fun. He has helped us many times to either load or unload a U-Haul truck. He has even made extended trips to help us when we have moved, like when we moved down to Tiller, Oregon to help my mother with her Alzheimer's. He has always been great with kids. Our grandkids love him. He is a loyal friend as well as being a great brother generally. This photo was taken in 2013 at our house, and it shows the dynamic between Dottie and Rip. She is an emotional spark plug, and he is the loving brother, and it is always a great time when they are together. My wife has not changed much since I first met her. This is the very first picture I have of her after we met. She was just as crazy then as she is now, and you can see why I call her my fun girl. ISFPs are independent in thought and in action. Rip currently has a business selling trees. He has gravitated towards jobs where he can use his hands and have a flexible working schedule. He works hard and does a great job when he does anything. He thinks deep thoughts, and he is as good a conversation partner for this INTJ as any I have ever met. He listens well, he analyzes, and gives thought-provoking ideas back during the conversation. Content with the basics in life, Rip can easily drop and run if any opportunity to travel or do something exciting comes along. He takes life in stride, and while serious, he also is fun. It is an amazingly appealing combination, and I honestly don't know why some lucky lady hasn't landed him yet. His dating has been hit and miss, mostly through online dating. He has often mentioned how he would love to find the right lady and then settle down and raise kids. But I think that independence might be keeping him free of those responsibilities. He has a true gift for finding things to do to stay busy. And with an introverted, active mind, there's always something to read, listen to, and learn. If you are an INTJ and you don't have an ISFP in your life, you might want to see if you can find one. It would be worth the look. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'll see you next time.